live. So these are some big players making moves that we need to know about that impact our world. And Microsoft is obviously one of those as well. Can you imagine like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Windows, Internet Explorer? I mean, I can't imagine not having those tools. Yet when I started in this business, we didn't have them. So these are huge, and they have changed the way we live and work. And now with the focus on cloud computing, it's really changing how we interact. We don't have to be expected to install these large, specific releases. It's really about flexibility and open access. So please join me in welcoming Khormaee up to the stage. He is an academic relations manager at Microsoft. Thank you.
All right, well, it is my distinct pleasure to be here in partnership with Cengage Learning. They're just a wonderful partner, and I'm sure I've just heard so much about the excitement around Office 2010 and Windows 7, and it's just a great opportunity for me to be here and share that all with you. Because I know, I'll tell you what, we're excited as well. And so this is me. Really quickly, it's going to be a fast talk, but I want to let you know I'm available in the Learning Center, or you can email me anytime at cykhrm@microsoft.com. I do respond. Those faculty I know in the room will attest to that, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have. I'm going to keep it really brief today. So we're talking about Windows 7. We're going to talk about Office 2010. That's going to be the desktop portion. Like was mentioned earlier, there's also the cloud portion. So discussing, okay, where is this information living? What is the next step? What's the roadmap for Microsoft? And for us, it really is looking into the cloud. It's really looking and seeing how can information be everywhere? How can information be persistent? And then how can we access that information in a variety of ways? I was just describing computing as a series of windows. You know, one window might be my laptop, one might be my cell phone, one might be whatever device I have on me. And we want to make sure that whatever window you have at your hand, you can access your data wherever you are. And I want you to keep that in mind as this talk progresses, especially towards the end when we talk about the web applications portion. And with that, I want to dive right in and just give you that first look. I know many of you already have seen it, but of Windows 7. Very familiar interface, not too much new. There's a couple new little tweaks I wanted to highlight. You know, one quick thing is the ability to multitask, as we were mentioning. So let's say I'm going to start out my homework assignment because I'm the diligent student trying to get my geometry homework done. It actually took me a little while to remember how to do all this stuff. But the first thing is we're going to have to mouse over and see what's going on and say, I don't know, my Twitter account, right? We mentioned that. These guys just added me on Twitter. I have no idea who they are, so I got to look it up. Diversity recruiting. All right, there we go. But still, right? Information bombardment. And this way I can quickly thumb through all of the different web applications I might have open and then swing back diligently to my homework assignment. That's really a key aspect there. And so the second thing I want to show off is, okay, so we're going to go in here and go, you know, of course we have this search function. Open up a brand new browser here. And I want to show off, you know, the first question is, hey, what is a cubic function? Many of you probably remember. Hopefully I remember, having done this a few times. But I'm going to go to the source for all knowledge, which is Wikipedia, right? It must be right. It absolutely must be right. This is something I hear from students. And we all know students, they know what they're talking about, so I better go here. And this is going to serve to help me highlight one of the next features, which is arrow snap. So over here, we're looking at the cubic function. The traditional way to do is we'll flip back over to my Word document. And again, like the diligent student, I'm going to try and copy directly from it. But I know I got to paraphrase, right? I got to paraphrase. So to do that, I can drag these taskbars right to the side. And you see these little ripple effects. And automatically it docks. Especially for those of you who have kind of widescreen computers. This is a great way for you to utilize two different applications, compare and contrast. Whether you're teaching, you got a reading assignment on one, you got an application open on the other, coding, whatever it is. This is just phenomenal. I couldn't live without it. I jumped on XP computers a while back. It was physically painful for me. So that's the first answer to the first one was, hey, we just go in here and say, all right, so it's a cubic function. Where is it? It's a polynomial of degree 3. Can't believe I typed that straight. I'm the worst typist in the world. That's one thing you'll notice. Students are phenomenal typists. They can go, 80 words a minute on these things. It blows my mind. So the second question, again, we can just copy and paste it. And that's very easy to do. Of course, you're used to it. We have built-in extra compatibility to make sure pretty much whatever you copy directly from the web has a distinct ability to format correctly in any Word document. And you can see this little paste menu down here. And you say, okay, we can merge the formatting, keep source formatting. It gives you these options of how to have that work appear. And if we want to create our own equations, like this instructor has chosen to do, well, we have this equation editor built right in. You can see there's a little highlighted box here, and there's a whole bunch of complex actions you can do with the equation editor. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but certainly there's quite a bit you can do to make some beautiful looking equations or even edit them on the fly. I'm going to say change this to a second order polynomial instead of a cubic function. Now, what this homework assignment is asking me as a student to do is to show a graph of the following equation in the interval minus 10 to 10. Well, God knows I can't draw, so I'm going to pop open Excel. All right, again, this is going to be my opportunity to show you the Excel beta. And so first of all, we're going to create the interval of negative 10 to 10, something I'm sure we're all very familiar with. So I'm going to start with negative 10, negative 9, highlight it, and then ask Excel to extrapolate. Whoops, not that far. There we go. All right, one more. Bears repeating, because this is such a useful function that I'll oftentimes see faculty members or students even start typing in the numbers one by one, and then you got to remind them, hey, there's a better way to do that. And so for a very simple polynomial function, we'll create an equation. Again, something I'm sure you're all familiar with. Rather than x, we'll use a1. Go a1 to the third plus a1 to the second minus a1 plus 4. All right, and that gives us a nice round number. And again, we can extrapolate it. Excel will automatically know that the x factor there is always going to be the adjoining a column. And we get our nice graph. And that's all nice and exciting. We all know how to create a graph in Excel. But one of the new features I wanted to highlight, especially is, I grew up serving business analysts in a business intelligence unit. So lots and lots of Excel, right? And I think that really is going to be a key future for your students, is learning how to access and understand large amounts of information to make sure that their managers or their executives are able to read it very quickly, analyze the data, and make decisions. Going back to that point, which is going to be absolutely critical. That filtering information is really the future. And especially in Excel, I'm going to show you this data tab. You see over here, there's a huge highlighting in the amount of ways you can access live data. I'm not going to show them to you today, but when you think about Excel, think about a database browser. It's not something I'm going to see people or the information worker of tomorrow typing diligently in and uploading data into themselves. It's going to be a place where I go access a database or a database in the cloud, gigabytes of data, and transfer them into a usable, into a comprehensible format. That's their job. So when you teach Excel, if you do teach Excel, that's what I want, hopefully, for everyone to be thinking about and be aware of. But the first thing is, if we want to create something called a sparkline, we're going to go ahead and insert a little sparkline over here. And all it is it works exactly like the typical graph. So I can go ahead and select the data I want. All right, good to go. And we create this little graph. And it's embedded directly in the cell. This is a great way to organize information, a great way to present, especially in terms of an analyst spreadsheet. And there's this, as well as something I'll just touch on very briefly over here in the Insert tab, is the slicer. So when you insert a slicer, it's effectively one snapshot, one version of a pivot table, one slice. Except it's kept up to date with a live data feed. So you can actually use Excel now for live scorecard reporting, which is phenomenally useful for any sort of business where you have live data. This is your way. Excel is your view onto that data. And that's the key takeaway right here. So we'll go back to our assignment. And the last thing I wanted to show off was this trigonometry business. Again, something I had to think way back in my mind to remember. And the calculator function. So we'll pop open the calculator. Normal calculator, not too exciting, but hey, we beefed it up. We had to do something with it. So we can go into view over here and say, hey, I actually want to do unit conversion. And amongst many other features, including, say, there's a program review, which is also new. So you can get this really beefy calculator. For those of you who are geeky around there, yeah, it's really exciting. But we go in here, okay, 36 degrees in radians. We just type in 36, convert it to radians. Again, good students know, copy, paste. Rock and roll, right? Very simple, very easy.